I want to talk all about virtually structured and just how do we organize our businesses? How do we set ourselves up right so that we can really focus on the things that matter that are going to grow our businesses? And I'm curious, kind of tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you kind of go from burnt out behind the scenes to really building back end systems for others?
I've always been an organizational person, and so I'm super organized, and everything kind of has a place. But I have always had that type of position when I've throughout my career, and I have grown to love systems in a way that's probably not healthy, but that's my jam. It just, I don't know, everything, if we look at it, everything is a system, whether we want to admit it or not. And so having those systems or steps or processes or workflows, whatever you want to call it, having those in place make things easier.
They make us kind of stay in a rhythm, right? Like a
Yeah.
little bit like that.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of where I was headed. Yeah.
All right. So you've created systems for others and then decided to kind of build out what's now known as virtually structured, which is your business. What essentially led you to create it?
So I originally was thinking that I would do like on online business management, and so I wanted to help people put systems in place to help them do what they do better, to help them build a solid foundation for their business that would allow them to grow and take it to where they wanted to go. The vision that they have in mind for their business, I wanted to help them get there. And so that's basically where virtually structured came from. So what I really do is help overwhelmed business owners build a foundation that they actually need to grow the company that they dreamed about when they first started.
I love that so much. So, did you start doing some OBM work online and then realize you wanted to scale to really help more and impact more? Or how did that unfold?
It's actually a funny story. I wanted to, so my kids are all off to college, and so I had a lot of time on my hands, and I wanted to do something with the skills that I have. And I did a lot of online searches and tried to figure out, how I could utilize my skills online instead of in person because I knew I didn't really want to do on site work anymore. And so that led me to VA, which led me to OBM, which ironically has led me to what I'm doing now, which is more of a group coaching type thing and not retainer clients. I do have retainer clients, but I'm kind of finishing contracts and then moving on to the coaching aspects of it. So it really ended up being where I wanted to I enjoyed having the clients that I had, retainers and project clients, but I wanted to be able to help more people faster. And so that turned me or put me to where I'm at now with the group coaching. So I can help more people do what they need to do as far as setting their foundation in place faster than I could one on one.
Okay, I love this so much because one of the things I like to teach as well, especially when you're getting started in online business, is that doing that service based is really powerful and it can help you like build up your resume, it can help you build up your revenue pretty quickly. And so, one of the ways I like to do it is do one on one coaching. Start there because you're going to really learn about your person. You're going to learn these rhythms and how they all kind of operate and what patterns you see, and then you can expand how you scale that to move into like group coaching or courses or programs, different things that you can do after you've learned that part. And I feel like that's kind of what you did there was you've helped some people. So you kind of know the patterns of what is a problem in businesses. So now you can kind of scale that to impact so many others.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have learned throughout the decades, sadly, of all the work that I've done with clients and businesses is it may appear to be well oiled and functioning, but behind the scenes, most of the time, it's a hot mess. And that's where a lot of the entrepreneurs and the small business owners start to feel the pressure. They may be booked out, but their back end is duct taped together with sticky notes and late night coffee whatever. So it helping them get to a point to where they're running their business and their business isn't running them is what I like to do.
Because that's what we want. We became business owners for that flexibility so that we didn't have to be told to what to do by somebody else, or, so that we could have freedom to spend with our families and things. So I want to kind of sit there for a second. You were talking about duct taping a business together. So tell me, what are some red flags that you've seen from working behind the scenes, to see for a business being duct taped rather than really being structured to scale?
So I would say one of the first signs of that would be everything is in their head. They haven't written processes down because it's only them and they know what they're doing every day. But the problem with that is that doesn't allow them to delegate or hand off anything if it's all in their head. And also, one of the problems with it all being in their head is they're not being consistent with it. They may do something this way one day and do something the same task a different way the next day, and so they lose that consistency factor. So when so many of us start out as visionaries, but somewhere along the way we get stuck in operation mode. We're doing all the things, we're wearing all the hats, but before long, we're basically just freelancers in our own business. And I think that's why they struggle so much. They don't have the clarity and the structure and the confidence to move forward because they haven't taken the time to sit down and look at what they actually do and how they should do it in a way that it frees up their headspace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I kind of think about it, and I don't know if it's that people like were resistant to the structure and systems, or that just we don't know how to create them, or we also maybe think, oh, well, I'm going to be a solopreneur forever. I don't plan on hiring a team, so why do I need these systems? But I even think about just, I mean, I have a system now for everything for the most part because I need it because I don't remember things very well. I don't know if that is that old age now or what, but maybe it's after having three kids and just lots of roles or something. But like the things that I do every day, I maybe wouldn't quote unquote need a system for because I already know it. Like it's kind of ingrained in me. It's a habit. However, I need one because what if I forget or if I add a team member? But then I think about the things that I do on occasion. So an example of that could be like updating my books on Amazon. Now that's a process. It's not very easy to do. So if I didn't have a system for that, if I didn't have it written down step by step, I would never remember how to do it. And there's like monthly tasks like that, even weekly tasks where it goes, you just don't do it often enough that you don't remember if you don't create the system for it. And having that system makes it so much faster to get it done.
Yeah, it does. Systems aren't sexy, but they are everything. I mean, no one starts their business dreaming about SOPs and workflows, but they're actually the very thing standing between burnout and breakthrough. I mean, a lot of people don't think about that. They think of structure as being it sucks their freedom out, and freedom doesn't come from winging it, it comes from structure. Systems are what give us room to breathe, scale, and lead, and I think after we get systems in place, we can actually step back and say, oh, okay, now I actually do have the time I wanted to go do this. Now that I have the systems in place, I have the headspace that I need. I can delegate this out. I can actually take a vacation.
Yeah. Okay. I want to backtrack like a tiny bit because you said SOPs and workflows. For those listening, someone might not know what an SOP is, standard operating procedure. And when I heard that at first, I'm like, I'm not a big company. I don't need SOPs. So tell us a little bit about what each of those are and why we need that as a solopreneur.
Okay, so I will say that I lean more toward workflows. I just, to me, like a workflow is like a bullet point of each step that I need to take. It's something that is like when I'm going to schedule an email, then I have step one, two, three, right? But an SOP is more in depth.
Mm.
It if there's like multiple people that need to be involved in this task, and there's multiple platforms that they need to go to, like you're going to upload your podcast. Well, you might have to go through Hello Audio, you might have to go through YouTube, you might have to go through Thrivecart if you're putting it on a community. So there's like several steps that might be involved, and that's when I would employ an SOP versus a workflow.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think I tend toward workflows too, because I think simple. Like, how can I make this as simple as possible to remember what I need to do or have my team member remember what to do, but not have it be full blown? I have to read this huge document in order to get the task done, right? And I
Right.
also think about it like, I think SOPs sound scary, but they don't have to be. Like, it could be you just create a video walking yourself through what you're doing so that someone could watch that video easily and see the task, or a workflow in your project management system. Like, it doesn't, I don't think it has to be even as structured as some people might think.
No, I agree, and I would say that I'm even moving more toward the video SOP now that than I would have years ago on the actual paper SOP. I also encourage people to do what I call living documents, where if they have like a PM tool or a project management tool like ClickUp or Trello, that they create their SOP or their workflows and put them in their project management tool. That way they have access to the steps or the workflow or links to the platforms that they need to do the task all in one place, and they're not, I mean, let's be honest, if you print out your SOP today and put it in a binder, you're never going to look at it. It's just not going to
So
happen.
true.
Yeah, so I think there are ways to um put things in place that work how your mind works, that are not cumbersome, because it's not about making your business robotic, it's about making it run without you being the bottleneck.
Yeah, making it run without you being the bottleneck. I love that because it just like helps you see I can hire at any time if I need to, or if there's an emergency, somebody can help me because I have it right here and ready. Or if there's an emergency, maybe you can let go of everything, and when you come back a week later, your system's there and ready for you, so you can catch up that much more easily. So I am curious too. Let's talk about like in the beginning, because I mean, I'm pretty good organized, so it didn't take me a whole lot to get my structures in place. But had I started from the beginning, it would have been a lot better. So, what's the first system that every business needs, even before they feel ready? Maybe they're like, I don't need it. I don't feel ready. I'm not really a business yet, whatever it is. But what's that first system that you recommend?
And I think when I say this, people are going to be like, really, that's it? Yes, it's not complicated. Write it down. If you do it, write it down. And as you do tasks in your business, write it down and then and I know it's like, oh, I don't want to write everything down, but I promise you, if you write stuff down just for a week, everything that you do, write it down. And then you can look at that list and you can start picking things that maybe slow you down or you don't like to do or takes you a long time. That would be the one that I would say start with that task first, on making a workflow, a specific workflow for that task. But I would say write it down, and then you can take what you write down and look at what you're doing repetitively over and over, like daily or weekly, and then take those tasks and put that into a workflow. But I would start super simple and just write down what you do. And well, maybe I should be a little more specific. Write down what you do over and over. So all your repetitive tasks. So if you're on social and you post, write a workflow for that. If you use ChatGPT to help you, write that in with your workflow. Scheduling, anything like that that you do repetitively, I would say write that down, and then those would be the first systems or workflows that I would start with.
So I talk a lot about taking a time audit. So like auditing where your time is going, right? Write down everything that you do in the day for like a week, right?
Yeah.
Similar. So it's a task audit. We're doing a task audit here. So writing down everything you're doing, one, you're going to see those repetitive patterns and you're going to see how you could easily implement that into a project management system.
Yes, or a checklist or, whatever. It will allow you to see what you're actually doing and what you're doing over and over and over. And then I would say eventually, when you are doing things over and over and over, those are the tasks that you can delegate or automate, but you have to know what they are first. And another benefit to writing things down like that, at least initially, actually all the time, I would say, because I still do it with the business that I've got. And because I always want to refine what I am doing and see where I can cut time and save or cut out steps or make something better. So that's the benefit of writing things down is you have that, you can go back and look at it and say, okay, I'm doing 5 steps with this task. Can I make that 3 steps? Can I automate it? Can I delegate this off my list altogether? And so it would still come down to write things down first.
Yeah, so good. And like, or if you have three tasks and they could be put into one instead of having three different tasks that you have to check off. Can you give me maybe off the top of your head, if you have an example like this, like as you're doing your own audit, like what is something that you did or noticed in your own business? Maybe you had multiple tasks that you turned into one, or you were like, I'm doing all these things. Well, this one's not giving me a return, so I'm just going to get rid of it. How do you audit yourself in the tasks that you're doing?
It's funny. So in my program, we have a like a performance module, and that it involves like KPIs and key performance indicators and things that you're able to look at, like the analytics on the back end of your website and or email or whatever. And I used to have, I'm old school, but I had a spreadsheet for that, and so I would painstakingly go through every month and write down all my analytics, and I was following everything, and then it dawned on me, you know what, I don't need to do this at all anymore, because I was noticing that I can pull up everything I need to on Squarespace, the back end of my website. It will tell me everything I need to know. I can do the same with my email platform. And so it didn't make sense to me to keep doing the manual part of that when I can just pull it up somewhere else, and then I can pull those up and analyze those a lot easier than I could in my spreadsheet. And I know you can do other things to automate KPIs and stuff. You can make connections, and it'll give you but it didn't seem like a good um time investment on my time to do that manually. So that was one of the things that I audited on my own business and just stopped altogether.
Oh, interesting. So then when you're looking at KPIs, your analytics, it's kind of like, are you doing it just on a case by case basis? Like something's going on with my website, so I'm going to go and analyze like, where's the growth coming from, whatnot. What does the analysis look like for you now that you don't do that task of a spreadsheet?
So I usually spend a few hours at the beginning of every month looking at last month. And so I'm able to pull up a month at a time. And if I see like spikes, then I'll narrow it down to that week where the spike was. And I'm able to analyze what happened, like what emails was I sending out, what posts was I putting on LinkedIn, that sort of thing. I was able to look at the bigger picture and see what I was doing on the back end that made that spikes. And yeah, I think it was just easier for me to just look at it as a whole that way versus trying to do it manually how I was doing it before.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's actually kind of freeing because it tells me that just because we're doing a task over and over because we've always done it or we heard we're supposed to doesn't mean that we're supposed to do that task. Like it doesn't mean
Exactly.
that it's fruitful.
Yeah.
We kind of have to know for ourselves what's fruitful in our business or what's not, and what's just an extra tedious thing, what's an extra, check off the to-do list rather than like an actual, um, maybe like intentional thing to grow our business.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't doing anything for the bottom line, so to speak, other than taking up my time. And I think being able to step back and look at that and make the CEO decision to just cut it out altogether, and knowing that it's not something that I enjoy doing, it's manual entry. That's no fun, right? So knowing all of those things and putting them together and then making a decision, it was very freeing because it was like, okay, now I have this time to actually look at the numbers and see, like dig in and see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about you essentially teach entrepreneurs how to go from visionary to CEO. So I'm curious, what does that shift actually look like in practice? What does that maybe mindset or just practical tips look like?
So, are you talking about the shift from going from like an employee to a entrepreneur or
I think just like having the ideas, like, because obviously a lot of us entrepreneurs are visionaries. So we have all these ideas and we want to get them all done or we want to do them or test them and whatnot. But we don't really we just have like that visionary cap on rather than the CEO cap on. So, how do we kind of make that shift from being the visionary only to actually being a visionary who is a CEO too? Does that make sense?
I think so. That's a hard one because I mean, first I would say the mind shift that would be necessary, at least in my case, was stop looking at myself as an employee because when I started my own business, now the buck really does stop with me. Wow. Let's step back and think that one through. So I think that would have to be one of the main mindset shifts to make. But after you do that, and I think it would be confident in what you know, own it. And if you don't and you want to, learn it.
I love that. Be confident in what you know. And
Yeah.
then, like, if you don't know, learn it. I mean, I think that's something that's really important here is that everyone starts from zero, right? Like, everyone starts without knowing how to be a business owner and when you're not a business owner.
Mhm.
But the best leaders, the most successful people are the biggest learners, but not just the biggest learners because you can just learn and not do, but the
Yeah.
learners who implement, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't think about it, which I kind of knew because I've helped so many business owners. But when it's your business, you're no longer in the cubicle, so to speak, doing your tasks for the day and then you get to go home. You're
Mm.
now wearing the marketing hat, you're wearing the HR hat, you're wearing, all the hats, and it all filters through you. And so just that in and of itself is a learning curve because now you may know what you know and you're confident in it, but how confident are you in the marketing aspects that you're not really, you know a little bit, but you don't really know enough to ask someone to pay you to do it, so to speak. And so I think we as entrepreneurs wear a lot of hats like that, where we know just enough to get it done, but not enough to be confident enough to say, yeah, you can pay me for that.
Hmm. Yeah, so true. Now before I know we're kind of on the kind of wrapping up time, but before we get there, I want to talk about client experience just a touch because I feel like systems probably help with that. So, how would you say that having a structured business, having systems in place can really help improve the client experience as well? So, like the outward facing part of our business.
Your systems is your brand. Your back end is your brand. If your back end is Post-it notes and duct tape, the client will feel that. They will be able to um see right through that. And I mean by that I mean, so if you don't have a good follow up, or you send sporadic emails while you're working with them instead of being consistent with a system, it will show up. And so I would say that your back end is your brand, and clients can see how well your systems work for your brand in a way that it is client facing, so they get to experience what your back end actually is, if that makes sense.
That
So
makes a lot of sense.
if you're not pulled together using systems, it will show.
Your back end is your brand. I mean, we could just sit with that for a little bit. Like that
Yeah.
is so true because it's also, I mean, so there's this book called Who You Are When No One's Looking. I don't remember who it's by, but essentially the premise of it is that you can't just be somebody else. You are who you are. So like when no one's looking, you should do the things that you want people to, you should have the character that you want people to see. You should do what's right. You should have, that kind of a thing. But it's almost like who you are when no one's looking. Okay, what's your back end when no one's looking? Because that's going to show, because that's a part of your brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, for the listener, because I know a lot of my listeners are juggling a lot of things all at once, especially if they're a solopreneur, they might be juggling everything and afraid to let go of something. They might be afraid of, am I going to lose income, or am I going to lose followers, or am I going to lose whatever it is? What would you say is one small thing, small system, something that they could do this week to really find some breathing room?
If they want breathing room, I would say look at what you're doing and what's the one task that you dread. Find out why you dread it and then refine it. Look at it and see what you can change to make it not where you dread doing it. And if it's something that you can totally either delegate out or get rid of it altogether, it just depends on the business and what that task or thing is that um they dread doing. But that's what I would do if they want headspace,
Mhm.
immediate headspace. Look at everything that they're doing and then pick the one thing that they don't like to do the most and see if they can delegate it, refine it, or get rid of it altogether.
I like that. For me, it was social media.
Right?
We all know what I did with that. I got rid of it. And a lot of people would have thought that was crazy because they'd be like, well, how are you going to grow? How are you going to find visibility? But when it was a task that just wasn't lighting me up, I was dreading doing it. It took all my time. To me, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the return that I wasn't getting on it anyway. And so I think sometimes we just need to get honest with ourselves, like get quiet and get honest with ourselves about why the task isn't going the way we want or why we're not enjoying it, because it might be a task that we do need. Like, for example, like if you are customer facing, maybe you do need to write an email every week and maybe you don't like it. Okay, let's talk about how we can make that more enjoyable for you, right? Like, so
Or
there are sometimes.
yeah,
What did you say?
or we can delegate it.
Or you can delegate. Yes. Like, for example, looking at feedback forms every month. That's a task. And I want to, because I want to know exactly what's going on in what's ticking in my business. How are people responding? What's the feedback? How can I make my programs and stuff better? Right. But that was a task I just didn't like to do. It didn't take very long, but it was an extra thing on my plate. So I delegated it. And it's great because now when I don't get to see, I don't have to see all the negative. I just get told, like, here's something you might want to adjust, or here's something that I found, and then I'll get the positive along with it, but I don't have to like sit there and do it myself.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a good way to delegate for sure.
Yeah. And I also delegate. So like with a membership, you have fluctuations, you have people who cancel. And sometimes we could take it like offensive, like, oh my gosh, they didn't like my membership. No, it's probably just the season. It's either it wasn't going to be the right fit for them or whatever. But I don't do any of that. I don't manage that customer support side. So then I don't ever feel that. I don't feel that ickiness of, oh, somebody left again or whatnot. So I keep tabs on it, kind of like you said in the beginning of the month. I look at my analytics, I look at some of these things, but I don't dwell on them every day. And that's been a really big blessing in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it frees up your headspace to do what you really want to do.
Which is serve the community.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. The thing that I can do, right? So, okay, one of my favorite questions to ask at the end of the interviews is, what does pursuing goals God's way look like to you?
Oh, for a long time, I pursued goals based on achievement, strategy, checklists, and outcomes. I'm wired for organization and systems, so it's easy for me to default to let me map this out and make it happen. But when I started asking God to lead me, everything shifted. It became less about hustle and more about obedience, less about what's trending and more about what's aligned. So to me, pursuing goals God's way means starting with surrender. It means checking in with Him first, asking not just what do I want, but who are you calling me to steward? It's about building with intention, not just ambition. It's strategic, but spirit led. It's showing up with excellence, yes, but also with open hands, knowing that obedience matters more than optics. And the beautiful part, when I stopped trying to do everything on my own strength, the results weren't just more fruitful, they were more peaceful because I wasn't chasing, He was leading.
Hmm. I love that so much. And that's so powerful. Like, I think that a lot of us can feel that when we're trying to strive on our own, we're trying to be the doers and achievers. And, we don't, maybe we do achieve, but it just feels a little bit flat. But when we bring him in and we allow him to lead, and we surrender our goals to him, his goals become our goals. And it's such a beautiful path to walk together, right? Like, so I love, that's why I love this question.